absolutely get into this Rickwood game that's coming up here in a couple hours. I do have something to say that is very, very parenthetical, if you will, about this. And I heard the guys bring it up earlier. I saw it yesterday. Yesterday wasn't the day for it. Yesterday was Willie's day. Today, I want to say something about this. It's a small thing. It's not a big deal, but I still find it annoying. And it's this. Major League Baseball is doing something right now, not just today, over the last few weeks, Negro League numbers, all of the things they're trying to do. They're doing because they're trying to show what? An awareness.
Yeah.
An awareness to their history, as negative as it is at sometimes, our whole nation, right? And they're trying, though you can never right those wrongs, they're trying to acknowledge and show awareness. All right, you're going to show awareness. You're already making a huge exception here, are you not? You're playing a Major League Baseball game in front of 8,000 people. You're doing it on a Thursday in Alabama. You have a day off in the middle of a 3-game series. You have an extra roster spot. Tyler Fitzgerald was called up today. You are making all kinds of exceptions in the name of what? Awareness. So when the San Francisco Giants ask you if they could have a special waiver to activate LaMonte Wade for one day, let me help you, baseball. Here's the answer. Yes. The answer is yes. Yes. But they said no. They said no because, catch this, it would be unfair, right? It would be unfair for us to let LaMonte Wade come off the injured list and then go right back on to the injured list. We want everything to be absolutely equitable. You do? Then why'd you add an extra roster spot? Why are you having
for each team, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Why are you having teams that are on, like the Cardinals are on a homestand right now? They flew to Alabama. Does that help them? Like, if we're going to get by the book, then you got to act by the book. If you're going to leave the book for a second because you're like, you know what? This is special. This is different. Let's you know what? Let's add the Negro League stats back in because we want to be aware and we want to acknowledge. And for those moments, you can take this quote unquote faux fairness that doesn't even exist anyway and throw it out the window. Are you telling me that the Dodgers are going to march on Major League Baseball offices because the Giants were allowed to activate LaMonte Wade for one day? If we're going to acknowledge race, let's acknowledge race and let LaMonte Wade be active in this baseball game today because it would mean so much to him.
Yeah,
that's good enough for me.
Well, I mean, the team could have activated him.
No, fair point.
They could have activated him.
Fair point.
And they're going to activate him soon. So if he's healthy enough to play, then activate him. And, you can have somebody who's not going to play be deactivated. So I understand that Major League Baseball has these rules. And in many, many times in the past, there have been special requests to Major League Baseball for this sort of a roster move. Some have been approved. Some have not been approved. And for whatever reason, they felt like this one was not one that passed muster. And I agree with you. It would have been a perfect opportunity for them to, quote, do the right thing. But the team did, in and of itself, have that opportunity. And LaMonte Wade Jr. is going to be reactivated, in the next 3 days, 5 days,
I don't
6
know,
days?
actually. I don't know. I have no idea when they're going to activate him.
And they could have activated him and then immediately put him back on the 10-day disabled list, or the IL, which tells me that he's probably going to be ready sooner than that. Otherwise, they would have done that.
I actually don't know what the rules are because that's what they were basically what they asked baseball is, can we take him off for today and then have him right back on
and not have him be on the 10-day?
Maybe not exactly. Changing his eligibility for the future. And
that's
they said
what it
no.
was.
Yeah,
they wanted to have just a 1-day waiver to where they could activate him and he can play because, like any player, let's say they activate Blake Snell and he goes out there today and pitches and he gets hurt. Well, he goes right back on the IL And that's just the way it goes. So they could have done that with LaMonte Wade, reactivate him, he plays today, and then they put him back on the 10-day IL. But my sense is that he doesn't need 10 more days, which is why they were asking for the special waiver.
Yeah, and you're not wrong at all. You can turn this toward the Giants and say, hey, why don't you just play a player short for the weekend? And you have an extra off day now after the series starts, right? You have tomorrow off.
Right.
And so why don't you just play with one less player on Saturday and Sunday and into Monday or whatever, and then activate LaMonte Wade. Fair point. That's a fair response.
And couldn't they have just made LaMonte Wade that extra player that they were given? Like, instead of calling Tyler Fitzgerald up, couldn't they have just made LaMonte Wade that extra player?
Well, but that extra player goes right away after the game. It's gone right after the game.
So he would have to go back on the IL,
and I think
or they'd have to make another move.
You'd have to start over again. So, again, I want to circle back to what I said at first. This is not a big deal. I just think it's emblematic of other things with Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball, the whole idea of so many different things is that they'll make exceptions here, and then suddenly over here, oh my gosh, we've got to keep everything in between the lines. Isn't that a funny line? In between the lines. You don't care if your strike zone's in between the lines. You're still letting human beings mess around with that all day long.
And the whole thing about the check swing, to me, is maybe the biggest joke, because how many check swing appeals do you get a game? Like 5 or 6?
At the most.
And it's a coin flip.
Totally.
You're asking somebody who's 110 feet away to see a bat in real time and the plate?
Well,
it's a swing.
Funny thing about that is if you made that reviewable, I don't even know if most people know the rule. You could watch the review,
right,
and you'll have two different people be like, that's a swing, it's not a swing. Did you see the Rocky Dodger thing the other day with Teoscar Hernandez?
No.
Okay, check swing, 2 outs, 9th inning, 2 men on, they're down by 1. 2 men on, down by 1, 9th inning, 2 outs. 2 strikes, high fastball, Teoscar Hernandez, hard check swing, appeal to first base, safe. Bud Black goes nuts. And he's right, like in slow-mo, it was a swing. It wasn't the most obvious thing of all time, but it was clearly a swing. Rocky dugout goes crazy. Bud Black gets tossed from the game. Next pitch, gone. 3-run homer. Dodgers win. Right fielder watches the ball go over his head, then starts gyrating in the direction of the first base umpire, livid, furious with what had just taken place. Would review fix something like that? I don't know. But that's kind of my point, and It's not a perfect example. You allow imperfections to take place all over the place, but you pick your spots in, well, no, we've got to. Well, now we're a librarian. I'm sorry, store closes at 9.
Yeah.
I'm not letting you in at 9:01, even though you're screaming at the door. LaMonte Wade has been saying for 2 months that this means the world to him. Who's it hurting? Who's it? Just let the guy in the game. Let the guy in there. I don't even know if he would have played. Could have gotten announced.
He would have played.
But he could have gotten announced.
Yeah.
Could have walked out on the field and been announced as part of the roster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, what if baseball says that to him? Hey, we'll let you activate him, but you can't play him. You got to play this game with 26. I bet the Giants would have said, fine. We'd play most games with 26.
Yeah. I know what you're saying, and I'm not playing devil's advocate just to play devil's advocate, but the Giants had the power to do what they wanted to do and not have Major League Baseball have any factor in it. Because if you look at their roster, they're not going to play every player today. And I know it's difficult to, deactivate a guy. It's not like you're going to send Logan Webb down for 3 days just so you can activate LaMonte Wade. I'm sure Logan has options. So you could send him to AAA and activate LaMonte Wade for the game and then bring Logan back in time to make his next start. You could do things from a roster manipulation standpoint if it was that meaningful to you. I agree with you. Major League Baseball should have done the right thing with one of the few black players in Major League Baseball. What are we at, 8% or 7%? And a guy who was dying to get out there and be a part of it, who was close but not quite ready. Major League Baseball could have done the right thing, but they didn't.
Yeah, and again, I hope no one's like, oh, this is fake outrage. It's not outrage. I'm not outraged.
Right. It's just disappointing.
It's something I noticed that it's like, why? Why? I don't like it when and forget sports, I don't like it when companies do this. Like, just the whole idea of right now is to not be formulaic. That's the whole idea, isn't it? What are we doing today? You're playing a baseball game in front of 8,000 people in Birmingham, Alabama. Like, loosen up. Loosen up. It's kind of actually been my message to baseball my whole life. Loosen up. You know what I mean? If Madison Bumgarner were sitting in the room with us right now, I would say all kinds of things first. 2014, most insane individual performance I've seen on a baseball field my whole life. Age 21, 2010, Game 4 in Texas, unbelievable. So many different things about who Madison Bumgarner is. At the end of all that, I'd be like, you ever think about loosening up? Like, just, right? That's what I think a lot of us would love to see baseball do. Just chill. Chill.
And I do think baseball is getting there, getting closer. Like, social media now is a lot more baseball friendly. There are many more clips that are shared and that are viewable, and the bat flips and the excitement that players are now showing on the field. That is, I think, a large way toward them loosening up. But this is a good example of something they could have done very easily to do the right thing, quote unquote.